Hello and welcome to this demonstration video of the email app with built-in ChatGPT support. This app is created in FileMaker and utilizes the ACF plugin. We begin with a small FileMaker application designed for demonstration purposes. While it may not be particularly polished, it is used to test the technical implementation details of the email and ChatGPT functionalities. In this application, we have buttons at the top for customers, orders, offers, products, preferences, and developers, which are used to navigate while testing and developing the app. A few words about how this video was made. I first recorded the raw footage of myself speaking. To improve the sound, I used an OpenAI API called Whisper One to create a transcript from the audio. After that, I edited the transcript and had OpenAI polish the text. Then, I used another API called Text-to-Speech to generate a new voice for the video. Finally, I edited the video to synchronize it with the new voice. We begin with the preferences. First, we have some of your company information, along with a field containing context for our company, which we will later demonstrate how we use. We also have OpenAI with the API key we obtained from OpenAI. To do this, visit apsplatform.openai.com. You need to create an account on this site and generate an API key, which must be entered into this field to enable the application to function. Additionally, you'll need to add a few dollars to your account to access the APIs. I have conducted extensive testing and have only spent $1 so far. We have also created an HTML email template. Since we are writing the text in Markdown, we will convert it to HTML. To allow for flexible design, we have included an HTML framework with style information for the email. Here we have the CSS, starting with this style tag. In the body of the template, we just have a placeholder, ++body+ for the HTML content of the email. Now, these are the preferences. We can navigate to the customer section, where we find some fields. There are tabs for contacts, emails, and orders. In the contacts portal, we have an email button to create a new email. By pressing this button, we enter the email composer window. Here, we can input the email text, body text, subject, mail to, CC, BCC, mail from, and select the email account we are using. The ChatGPT tab is the one we use to assist with email creation. If we inquire about an image in the text, ChatGPT provides comments and an image description. We have this console that we use for debugging everything, and it includes the chat history. I will return to this shortly. Next, we have background references that we also need. Now, when we ask ChatGPT about doing something, we have this example here. Can you draft an email to a customer who has bought product A, but as the Black Week offer now gives a better price for it, he wants to get a new price instead? As we cannot do that, can you propose a good answer to him and also propose product B? Also, add an image to the email showing Black Week sale shop with many interesting products. He is a good customer. To demonstrate this, I set English as the target language. Then, we simply send it. The query has already been answered, and we also receive an image description. We use this description to request a second endpoint to create an image. Here is how it looks. Okay, so we have this text. Let's click Use This to transfer the text to the Mail tab. We can then open it in the editor to see more clearly what it looks like. Thank you for reaching out and for being a valued customer. We truly appreciate your business and are delighted to hear about your interest in product A. Hence then, you are concerned regarding the price change due to Black Week offers. Unfortunately, we are unable to retroactively apply promotional prices to past purchases. However, we want to ensure you continue to have an excellent experience with our products. To make most of our Black Week sale, we recommend checking out Product B. It is a robust coffee maker specifically designed for those who love strong coffee. In my opinion, a perfect addition to your collection or thoughtful gift for a coffee enthusiast in your life. We invite you to explore our Black Week sale with featuring a variety of excellent products that might catch your eye. And thank you once again for understanding and continued support. Okay, that wasn't so bad. We noticed that this image is a bit large, so let's go back and set it to 800 by 800. This is actually a better size for an email. We can check in the editor and see that we now have a slightly smaller image. If we're happy with this, we can go ahead and send it. I'll click the Send button and send it to myself at my Outlook account. Here it is. If we look at it in Apple Mail, you'll see it there as well. The 800 by 800 size is a better choice. There's an issue with Apple Mail and embedded images. It doesn't allow you to use CSS to style the width of the embedded image, so it's better to have the correct image size when sending the email. This issue doesn't occur with Outlook. Okay, so how does this work? We have this console, and here is the latest console output. We can see that we created a message section. I'll look at the source code instead so we can understand how this works. Here is the function that sends the request. If it is the first round of chat, there is no history, so we create the messages from scratch. If it is a subsequent round, we copy all the messages from the history and then add our new prompt to the messages. We begin the message section with the system role, which provides ChatGPT with instructions about its role and the desired data format. It specifies, "You are a professional crafting emails." The format of the result is outlined here, explicitly stating that sections will be enclosed in tags, such as email, comment, title, and image, to ensure the response can be parsed correctly. We also specify the target language. Returning to this, we have context for Product A and Product B. Product B is in Norwegian, while Product A is in English. Since the target language is English, it's fine to mix languages. Necessary translations are made to English for usage. Here is our message. Reviewing the chat history, we see the assistant's response. We can request a more polite version, and upon sending this request, we receive the same image description, indicating no need to request a different image. We save and use this, opening it in the editor to review. We've obtained new text following our instructions. Now we return to the function interacting with ChatGPT. Initially, we make some declarations, setting the prompt and the language for the request. If no language is set, we default to Norwegian. We create a request object, a JSON object, declared here. We use a function called createAJSON, another ACF function, to construct this basic object with the given parameter. For the first round, if there is no chat history, first round is true. Otherwise, the history is in the message section. If it is the first round, we include a system message and some background reference. We also create messages for this purpose, along with some definitions. We have the @ sign on some words in the request. We use an ACF function to scan for these and include any definitions. If definitions are found, we add them to the request and message section. Otherwise, if there is history and it's not the first round, we loop and copy the message from the history into the request object. If the language has been switched, we append to the prompt, "We have switched the target language to," followed by the language. Finally, we add the concluding message in this way. We access the API by first retrieving the API key from the preferences. Next, we construct the header object, specifying the content type and authorization where we include the API key. After that, we perform an HTTP post sending the request to the endpoint. We then receive the response, which is in JSON format but represented as a string. We declare a variable resp to store the JSON, then assign the string response to it. By doing this, we automatically perform an implicit JSON parse. If the parsed JSON contains only one key and that key is error, it indicates there was an error in the response. In such a case, we display an alert and return an error. Otherwise, if there's no error, we proceed to handle the result. We receive the response text and include it in the message section, which comprises our chat history, the new prompt, and the result. This is assigned to the variable history, which we use to update FileMaker. The history variable is a stringified JSON object. The string mentioned is essentially the JSON in string format. We have instructed ChatGPT to use specific tags, and we extract the content between those tags as the email content. If the tags are absent in the email, we use the entire result as the email content. For the comment tags, we include text for the comment, title, and email description. If there is a new email, we use the subject new mail. If the subject is different from new mail, it indicates that we have edited the email subject without changing the target. If the target changes, the title is in a different language, and we need to adjust this. If the title is empty, we set it to the email message's subject. If there is an image description, we call another ACF function to perform the DALL-E 3 API action to retrieve the image. And that's essentially all. We need to update the FileMaker record with all the fields we have extracted. This process is enclosed in a try-catch block to handle any potential SQL errors. I will return to this shortly. We update the email messages as follows. The history JSON is updated to history. The chat result corresponds to the email content. The chat comment is a comment. The subject becomes the title, and the image description is updated to ImageDesk. The primary key is mail pre-key, which is the parameter for this function. I've discovered that sometimes ChatGPT inserts emoticons into email text, and when this happens, we encounter an SQL error. The SQL engine in FileMaker seems to have an issue with emoticons in UTF-8 text. In such cases, control is transferred to the catch block. We have two global variables that store the history and email content. Then we execute a new SQL command to update other fields like chat comment, subject, title, and image description. Afterward, we throw an error, which we handle in the FileMaker script. This allows us to retrieve the two fields that couldn't be updated via SQL and use set fields instead. I've written more about this below. When we send the chat request, if the result is not OK, the final return won't be OK. Therefore, if the result differs from OK, we proceed with this section. We retrieve the history and email content using the plugin's getter functions. If they return values, we update the fields using setField. If an image URL is obtained, we set the image path in the email record to this URL. We also have an image name, which is simply a file name, and it is active in both the image and generated image fields. Additionally, there's a field with a web viewer image, which is generated using another ACF function that produces a base64 encoded text. That's the process. Now let's wrap this up and return to the email. If we discover that John is actually Danish, it would be more appropriate to have the email in Danish. So we select Danish as the target language, send it, and receive a completely different email in Danish. The demo application is now available for download with a link provided in the description. It comes bundled with a demo license of the ACF plugin, valid until the end of 2024. You can test it yourself by downloading the plugin and placing it in the plugin folder of your FileMaker. There's one more thing. We have this image size feature here. If we change the image size, you'll see that we add 800 by 800. We achieve this using an ACF function. If we go to edit the layout, you'll find we have a script trigger called Change Image Size. In the script workspace, you can find it. It's a small and straightforward script. If the image size is different from 1024 by 1024, we call a resize image function. Looking at this function, we've installed ImageMagick on the computer. We dissect the file into its base part, file name, and file type to create a new file name with a new size. Then, we use terminal commands to instruct ImageMagick to resize the file. We use a function in the ACF plugin called System Command, which executes the commands generated here. This process involves ensuring the file paths are correct relative to the base part, so we have just the file name and the new file. Performing this within the base parts directory ensures everything is set. Next, we call the identify command and apply it. On the second line, there's the new file, and we gather information about the new image file. This results in a list of space-delimited parameters. By splitting this result, we produce an array with all elements, where the first row contains the new file name. We return this information. This function is invoked when resizing the image, substituting the active image with the new one, setting it as the active image. We can change it to a smaller size, like 400 by 400, and preview it, showing a tiny image. Whether it's a 400 or 800 preview, the process remains the same. That's all. Thank you for watching. Feel free to email or message me if you have any questions about this application. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.